Today I'm working on lateral work and more specifically the beginnings of working with a leg yield from liberty to line to mounted. And I have Mercury here, my helper, and we've already been playing a little bit at liberty, and I warmed him up, and in that video you should have seen how I had the idea of the lateral work in the liberty work already. So the horse is already thinking about moving in that way. And the thing I like about the liberty is it allows the horse to explore the movement without any restriction. So they're not being held, they're not on a line, and they can use their body the way it's comfortable for them and not be forced to move in a way that might not be okay for them at this stage or even comfortable for them. So after the liberty, I wanted to get into working a little bit more with the idea of the touch training and then working in implied pressure and the touch training, which is to me direct pressure, but soft, not having to use a lot to move your horse. So I have yet to see a horse that cannot be worked with a light touch if it's addressed the right way. A lot of horses are accused of being dull, low energy, whatever. I have all of those horses. I have everything from highly sensitive to what would be categorized as dull or unreactive, and they all can be worked with lightly. So it's not a problem unless you make it that way. You decide that that's the way the horse is, and you're always going to have to use a lot to request. So when I think about the idea of lateral work, which is difficult for a horse, to move a horse sideways, the first thing you want to think about in the initial lateral work and liberty I was doing, I was just asking him if he could go sideways. So there was no, idea that he necessarily had to go anywhere in particular in sideways, but I was just saying, can you move left and right sideways? So that's what you saw there. I wasn't touching him. I was just applying what I would call implied pressure to the side of his body that I thought I wanted him to move away from. So now I'm going to work with a little bit what I call direct touch. So when I think about his body, I think about this part, which is the shoulders. Think about this area, which is his middle. I know you're a little bit interested in what's going on outside right now. And this part, which is his hindquarters. Now, let's not just even think of that. What's his front feet attached to? They're attached to here. His middle connects both, and his back is connected to his back feet. So, think about that. This is the front foot connection. This connects the front to the back, and this connects the back. So, when we think about that, there's two ways to address that. So, when I think about a leg yield, ultimately, in dressage or in Western riding, a leg yield is just to have the horse move sideways and forward simultaneously from the leg pressure. So that would mean you would be on the horse, you'd have one leg on, the left or the right, and the horse would move away from that leg. So if he's on the left here and I were to imaginary apply left leg here, he should go away from me towards the right. So with that, we think about, well, where's the leg going to touch the horse? When we sit on the horse, it's going to fall somewhere in this area, depending on, the size of the horse, the size of the rider. And the first thing we need to know is if we touch the horse, for example, we touch the horse in the hind end, just right here, will he move away? Okay, now that's touch training. Okay, so I touched him in the spot that I wanted him to move, and I asked him if he would move, and he said, oh, if you touch me there, I would like to move my hind end over. Okay, so then what if I touched him in the middle? Good. That was a very demonstrative sidestep, Mercury. That was with a nice flair for the demonstration. I like that. So he took his whole body sideways, not just the hindquarters and not just the front end. Okay? So if I were to put the flat of my hand on his shoulder, ask him to move, you see he offers just that front. Now that was a little bit more forward than side, so let me see if I can ask him again. There, okay. So there he offered the front. So a little bit of Spanish walk mixed in there, but that's just him. He's offering a little bit extra always. So you see that we can ask for the front to move, we can ask for the back to move, and we can ask for the middle. So that's how we establish that when you touch a body part, the horse will move. So now I need to hone in on my leg yield, which basically was the middle position. Okay, so I needed the whole horse to go sideways. Now, technically, a leg yield is to go forward and sideways, which means the horse is moving in a direction and going sideways at the same time. Side pass or full pass is when the horse is in a stationary position and goes completely sideways, which is what you just saw. He didn't really go forward, he just took a complete step sideways. But when we are teaching something, it's good to break things down into little pieces. And the little piece here is, can you go sideways? Can you go forward? Can you go sideways and forward? That's the next progression, okay? So if we do things in little steps like that, it's easier for the horse to understand. It's easier for us to learn it. It's easier for us to communicate it. This is not about training, it's about communicating to the horse what to do with his body at a certain time. And he already can do these things. He just needs to know what you mean when you ask for them a certain way. So that's all we have to do with that, is establish that when we touch the horse in certain areas, that horse is going to move away reliably, softly, and without too much pressure. We don't need to have a lot of pressure. So I would work on that until the horse is really easy about it in both directions, and then I would take it to line. And line means I might work up close in hand, or I might work in a longer lunging type circle, doing more natural lunging work. So that's what we're going to cover next.